In this video, I'm going to show you why you keep losing arguments and how to stop. How do you start winning arguments? We're going to be exploring why you keep losing, how to expose people when you're speaking to them so that they don't keep tripping you up. But before we get into things, let me just explain what a logical fallacy is. A logical fallacy basically means a pattern of reasoning that's going to lead you astray. Right? So people sometimes when they argue have a pattern of reasoning that leads them astray. I've seen this many, many times. And I've also been working in politics for the last 10 years. So I've seen all sorts of argumentative people. I love arguing. So how then do you start winning arguments and stop losing? Well, the first thing you need to always spot is when you see this logical fallacy that's very, very popular, and it's the ad hominem, right? Ad hominem essentially is when someone, rather than engaging with your argument, insults you. So you can be arguing with someone going back and forth on why Michael Jordan is the greatest player of all time, and they're going back and forth on why it's LeBron James, and then randomly they just go, "You're so stupid," right? Now, what you feel like doing is saying, "I'm not stupid, you're stupid," and you start fighting, but that's got nothing to do with the merits of both players. You're not arguing about the players anymore. They've just attacked you, they've insulted you. When people do that, it normally means they've lost and they've got nothing to do. So here's how you respond. When someone does an ad hominem, like when they just attack you, you just tell them, you say, "Attacking me personally doesn't make your argument any stronger." And that exposes them immediately, because now people can see what they're doing. They're just attacking you personally, but they're actually not making their arguments any stronger. They've actually left their arguments to attack you. So next time, don't fall for the bait. Don't start attacking them back. It happens all the time. If you watch a Piers Morgan clip, someone's like, "You idiot," and I know you're the idiot, and then you go back and forth. And when you've done that, that person that had no argument has won, because they've dragged you down to this arguing match. You've got to stay up there and expose them. Tell them, say, "Listen, I can see you're attacking me personally, that's okay, but that doesn't change your argument, which is wrong," and you go back to that. The second logical fallacy that you always see online is straw manning. Straw manning is when you present the worst version of someone's argument so you can knock it down easily. So someone might be making a really strong argument about why we need to reform and change the education system, right? They're giving you all these facts and data of how we need to change it. And then someone else replies, "So we should just destroy the whole system." Of course, that's not what you're saying. So what you do is, rather than do what people get tempted to do, which is to start arguing with a straw man by saying, "I never said that," and you go back and forth on that. Don't do that. Instead, just restate your argument. So just restate, "No, what I'm saying is we need to," and you go there. But all the time, especially again when you watch these news shows, people unfortunately get dragged into defending this straw man. But here's the reason why you shouldn't do that. You never made that straw man argument. They've made that argument. So you don't have to defend that or go back and forth and engage on that. Just simply pause and say, "No, my argument is," and you make your argument again. You restate your argument, and you don't allow yourself to be dragged down to their level. Another very popular logical fallacy that always trips people up is the appeal to authority. This one can be a very hard one because experts are often right? So when you're making an argument about, I don't know, something to the police, and someone goes, "Well, the official police report said this," very quickly you feel like, "Oh my God, I'm trapped, I've lost this debate." But that's not actually an argument. Them just quoting an authority and saying we ought to believe it because the authority said it doesn't mean they've won, but it can feel very it can feel very suffocating when someone brings a big figure. Elon Musk said this, or the police said this, the government said this. And so here's how you deal with it when someone tries to use that trick on you. You acknowledge it's an authority, but you acknowledge the technicality, and here it is. Yeah, the police is often right, but they're not always right. And when you say something like that, you dissipate that appeal to authority, because you're recognizing the fact that, yeah, that expert is very well known. They're very known. But you're not suggesting they're always right, are you? And once you introduce that little seedling of doubt, you can then carry on making your point. This is the one case where I think that person actually is wrong, and here's all the reasons why. So we can still assess the veracity or the validity of an argument, even if an authority figure is involved, because authorities aren't always right. They're not God, right? And so that's one way you can turn it on itself. You're like, you're not suggesting the police is God, are you? And they can never be wrong. And very quickly that person has to concede that, yeah, you're right, they could be wrong. And you go, and this is one of those cases where they're wrong, and you make your case again. So that way helps you to not be tripped up when someone introduces a figure much bigger than yourself into a debate. Now, a very popular one, which I always hear, is the false dilemma. And that's when you're having a debate with somebody, and at some stage, they introduce two options, as though those are the only two options in the world. Like, it's either this or it's that. And you go, well, no, there's other things. And the way you do that is you have to be careful not to fall prey by getting into that dilemma they've created. It's a false dilemma. So what you do is you listen to them and you go, but there's a third choice, or there's another choice. And very quickly, you expand the dilemma they're creating by introducing another option. And that normally, again, dissipates this idea that there's only two. But here's the key thing with all these dilemmas. You have to just, all these fallacies, you have to stay calm, listen to what's being said, and then destroy it. Right? You have to listen to what's being said and then make your point. And in the false dilemma, and I love it, because when people go, no, they're either good or they're bad, and I go, or there's a third option. And they go, what? And then you introduce your third option or your fourth option, your fifth option, because there's never two options. The key thing is to stay calm, to watch very carefully, and then to strike when the iron is hot. And if you're interested in more like this, you can watch a previous video I made about logical fallacies. But I want us to get our arguments stronger so people can't just trick us and play tricks on us when we're making strong points. Don't be tricked. See you in the next one.